So let's call to order the meeting of school budget presentation for the Finance Committee, March 19th, 2019, at 6:34. Welcome.
Thank you.
Big packets.
That was from the presentation for
Yep.
the budget presentation.
So for the presentation we did for the school committee to get a certified budget, we gave out a packet of the 2020 budget presentation to everybody. In my packet, and Mr. Shea's packet, we had all the line items.
Okay.
When they were copied today, they gave what we gave to out at the school.
Oh, okay. Oh,
So
is that
he's
why
just
John's in there
making- yep.
copying? Yeah.
He's making a copy right now.
Yeah, they needed a code, him and David working on it. That's above my pay grade.
But I can start if you want. And then we'll
Okay,
just start going.
sure.
So, this year, thank you for inviting us again to talk to the Finance Committee from the School Committee and for the school budget. I'm Liz Legault, I'm the Superintendent of Schools. I'm here with John Shea, the Business Administrator this evening, who's acting as my secretary right now. Out there, he's going to make some copies for us. And then, as you know, this is our Chair, Ellen Pennington, of the School Committee. Each year, when we design the budget for the upcoming fiscal year, school year for the 2020 school budget, we go off our strategic plan. We have 4 areas that we align our budget with. One is curriculum instruction, social emotional wellness, professional development, and technology. Where we are today, last year's budget, our salary was at $17,197,823. We had a non-salary budget at $3,122,378. Our school budget was $20,320,201. Our busing is at $936,000. And today, our budget for this fiscal year of 2019, or our school year 2019, is $21,256,201. What were some of the things that we did with our funding? Curriculum instruction. We spent $150,000 on our new math curriculum, and that's a K through 6 Ready Math and Freckle, and our 7 through 12 IXL and Pearson math programs. Our data team, we've put money into our MAP assessment data, our MCAS data, and our DIBBLS data, and those are our data teams. We're using that data to align our curriculum with, to know where our weaknesses are, where our strengths are, where to put our money in, and time and effort into on the weaknesses on that. In continued professional development, we spent $50,000, and we spent it in Inclusive Practices Academy, our book club, and we've offered over 175 course offerings. We do not pay for our teachers to go out for classes anymore. We do reimburse them, though, for any coursework that helps them to recertify or that we ask them to get, i.e. our SEI endorsement training for social emotional awareness, for ELL students and instruction. We did have new hires last year. We hired a full-time IT director. We did have a new behavior specialist, a STEAM specialist at the Mitchell School,
What's a STEAM?
science, technology,
Okay, like a STEM type.
STEM.
Okay.
Yeah, what is the A in, I just
Um,
don't know it.
You know, I got every
I hear
acronym in my head
STEAM
going
all
right
the
now.
Technology,
Engineering,
arts and math.
arts and math.
Okay.
Continued, and we continued to fill and replace all retirement slots. So any retirement that we had last year, we filled the position, and we're currently full. For all, since I've been here, this will be going into my 5th year, we've filled all the positions that we lost prior years, and now we are full, and any retirement that I see coming up next year, we're filling at this time. We negotiated 4 collective bargaining agreements: custodial, administrative assistants, instructional assistants, and assistant principals. As you know, that we co-op a girls' hockey team with West Bridgewater. We've upgraded our Mitchell security cameras. We bought band uniforms. We purchased a new time and attendance system, and we purchased library books. We needed some new novels. Some new accomplishments that we're very proud of and that I think will help out in the long run here in the town is one of them is we created a special education reserve fund. We opened the account last year at last year's town meeting, and this year we hope to be able to, or at some point, start to, regardless if it's $5,000 to start a reserve fund. We have, our central school boiler project is underway. We have applied for a grant with the MSBA, and MSBA has picked us up. They'll pay 56% of that. And we're in the final stages of that. The architects have seen that. We've just signed off on the final, pretty much the final paperwork, and they'll start this summer at the central school. We have some new grants, the New England Dairy Council, the collaborative grant between the EB Police and Schools, or JAG. We have a new website that is ADA compliant, and we're very proud of our EB Outreach Coalition.
For this, I just have a quick question on the sped reserve account. Isn't that what you were using once you started it last year? Didn't you close into that at the end of the year?
No.
No.
No, different account.
There was 25, I think, are you asking?
About the 19.
There was $19,000
Yeah.
left over that has not been transferred.
Right, so that's one of the articles we submitted.
For
We
this
had-
year? I mean,
Yeah,
I
for
haven't
this
seen
year.
that
Yeah.
yet.
For this year, yeah.
Okay,
But it didn't go last year. They had to open up the account,
yep.
and then there'll be an article
Oh,
this
okay.
year.
This will be the first.
So you're holding on to it, move it once
Yep.
you petition at the town meeting?
Right,
Okay, good.
and that was a recommendation of the ORC committee to create that.
Yeah, I think we talked about that last year. A lot of the surrounding towns and towns in Massachusetts were creating that product to do that.
It's a good, it's a security for us. You know, if we can do that, and we can help, then we certainly would like to do that.
Yep.
We just gave you, our average class sizes at Central, Mitchell, and junior, senior high school in English. And as you can see, in 2019, we've brought down our class sizes from 217 and 218. I think we're doing very well in 219. These are average class sizes, so I'm sure that you've heard that at the junior, senior high school, we do have some classrooms that are 35 and 39 and even upwards of 41. We are working on that, but we also know that some kids do petition to get into the AP classes, and some teachers will say, yeah, I will take that student. So we may have cutoffs for those classes, but we do have, teachers want kids in their class, and so they will take them. So yes, they have been pushed there. We do have a couple algebra sections that are very high. We are looking at that, and hopefully next year we are putting into place a new schedule, and that new schedule should help. Math class sizes, you'll see, have come down as well in 2019. In central school, they don't have it's one teacher per classroom. This year, our curriculum review cycle in 2018-19 was our wellness, physical education, health, and guidance. Guidance was our wellness year. So we're looking at programs to purchase to help students out in physical education, health, and guidance, and next year will be the implementation. It won't be like math or science at a cost of $150,000. It'll be a lot lower than that. However, next year for the 2021, or for the 219-220, next year they'll be looking at social studies and languages. And the Department of Education has given us new guidelines and the new frameworks, working on the new frameworks for social studies. So as they implement and as they do the frameworks for us, we'll have to implement the new curriculums and look into ways that we will implement them in the 2021. I don't see that. I'm hoping that's not up at 150,000, but if the other curriculums were that, math and science, usually math and science are a little bit higher than you would see in ELA and social studies, but still, it'll be more than it is at wellness.
So where it is this year, will you put aside some of the money that you would have spent, or did you?
Well, we can't
Just-
really put aside any money.
I guess not put aside, but,
We didn't spend as much.
Thank you.
So we didn't have to put it in the budget.
Okay.
So as you can see, we do have a strategic plan, our vision, and the 4 areas, and this is one of them, the curriculum review cycle. This is that curriculum and instruction part. So we know where we're going. We know that we can tell you that, it was $150,000 for science. It's $150,000 for math. We took a breather. I said to Dr. Williams, take a breather here. She took a breather, went into health and wellness and guidance. Next year, we'll hit it again. So a little bit of reprieve this year, and then next year it'll be social.
Was that a capital project, or was that out of your budget? I can't remember.
That's out of the budget.
Okay.
Historically, in prior years, that was requested out of capital, out of free cash.
Right, because I remember,
And then they asked us, or that it came
Yep.
back that it should be it should be budgeted.
okay.
Just so everybody, you can see, these are some of the professional development offerings we had for our faculty and staff. Just gives you an idea of the things that we're offering and what faculty and staff can take advantage of.
Do folks, or the teachers, is it all online, that you buy so many and they go online and take the?
Some are the professional developments that we bring in.
That you bring into the
Yep,
school?
we have,
those
this
days?
year, we had 4 days.
Okay,
So they can, this year, we had, our opening day was happy, how to be happy, and then, we just added a PD a couple weeks ago. We do a lot. CPI training, they do,
I just didn't know if there was like a central location for all the schools.
They can go online.
Towns
We
and
do
stuff,
have,
you
well, we
can-
do have online, then the schools are open for their professional development.
Yeah.
We've had, we do our coaches, first aid and CPR. That's done
Yeah.
through, actually here with the health department here, Board of Health.
Okay,
MassQ is our largest PD that we send teachers to, and that's at Gillette Stadium.
oh,
I think this year we spent about 39 people went. It was
wow.
outstanding, yeah.
That's a lot.
But it's a lot of people to let go, so we're trying to figure out how to do this a little bit better next year. So the FY 2020 increase for what and for why, we want to continue to maintain a manageable class size, enhance support for social and emotional needs with 3 new social workers from the North River Collaborative. We'll speak a little bit more about that in a few minutes. New district-wide wellness action plan that they're working on now to implement for next year. The new platform to bring together academic and social emotional data to better advise teachers and administration on early warning sign. Continue to maintain and upgrade technology for both students and teachers to support the NEASC accreditation 5-year success plan. As you know, we went through NEASC last year at the high school. We have some areas that they need to work on. And so over the next 5 years, we'll have to address them and then implement success plans for each one of those areas. We're looking for a security guard for the Mitchell School, and the Mitchell School Behavior Specialist, and a .50 ESL teacher. We are gaining students that are ELL learners, so we need to support that. The Mitchell School, I'll bring that up right now. We talked about doing the vestibule, the doorways at the Mitchell School. The amount of money that would take to take those doors down and to rebuild, and then put put a new frame in and new doors in, and then maybe a walkway into the office would be too much money at this time for us, and maybe we need to, like, a 2-year capital plan to really look at it, design it, what do we really want, how do we implement that, and how do we pay for that. So we decided that a security guard would be like we do at the high school, maybe a retired sheriff, retired police officer, someone that's been in the security at the bank or whatever, to hire that person to sit at the door, have the lobby guard system still at that threshold. They'll have to stop, and then we'll let them in the building.
Do you lock the other side, like, because with there's
Yes.
4 doors there, right? Or-
We're putting a new fob system into
Okay.
those doors on the other side and out to the side doors.
The state came out with a new grant,
Oh, that's right.
which we're filing for.
Okay,
So that grant is specifically for
Security.
security, and it's for locking mechanisms and fob systems.
oh, good.
Yeah.
The state's, it's a
Yeah.
$7.2 million grant. The
Yeah.
most we can get is 60.
We did that at work, too.
So
Yeah.
we
Through a
are
grant.
filing that over the next couple of weeks, and hopefully we'll get that.
And we're working with Chief Allen on that grant.
Yeah, he had kind of given us a little bit of an update at.
Yeah, a couple of grants
police.
we're applying with him, so
Yeah.
we hope to see more. A lot is the safety of the schools.
Right.
So if you turn the next page, and it's where we're going tomorrow, and it's our 2020 budget. Our salary, what we forecast, we are in negotiations with the EBEA, which is our largest body of staff, which is our teachers. And we're not done at that, we are still in the negotiating phase. But our estimations are at $17,699,604. Our non-salary is at $3,180,291. Our school budget is at $20,879,895. Our busing is our asterisk, and we have a bus bid. We did have a bid today. We had three companies come in. 2 companies ended up coming in. We had 4 last week asking us questions on them. We did come in lower than what you see here. It has not gone to the school committee at this time, so prior to releasing that information, it needs to go to the school committee for them to accept the bid, if they accept the bid from the company, before I can discuss it, just on the procurement side, and to be ethical.
So I guess are you thinking it's going to be lower than the 936, or you just am not sure with the different companies?
I would
yet?
say at this time, the 936 is a safe number.
Yes.
Safe number.
So if we stayed within it, so if we stay there,
Which is the same that it's been for the last.
3 years,
3 years.
yes.
So, yes. And it's, so the total would be, for this year's budget, is $21,815,895.
Can you give us just a quick timeline on what you think on the negotiations? No, obviously that, just a general update.
I would love to tell you they'd be done by June 1st.
Yeah.
Just so, I think we have a nice, we're having a nice candid conversation right now. I meet with them tomorrow evening. Dr. Williams and I will be in there tomorrow evening. So far, it's been flowing, which is nice. I think we know each other well now. We've been together now for 4 years. I think they know the vision of the district. I know who they are. They know who I am. So I think we're getting there to a level of, not comfortness, but maybe it's comfort, but they know what I need to do and they know what they have to do. And I'm hoping, my fingers are crossed, by early June.
Okay, great, thank you.
That's our goal. So, just so you see, what we're trying to do, and I've been trying to do this along with Mr. Shea and Dr. Williams and the school committee, is trying to just show everybody, and it comes up in a little bit in another slide, but from last year to this year, the salary is the difference between 2019 and 2020. The total difference was $559,694. The salary is taking into all the contractual obligations that we have. The non-salary increased by $57,913.
In your salary increase, did you estimate for the contracts?
Yes.
We tried,
Well, I
To
mean,
the best of your ability.
to the best of your ability, I
yes.
mean,
Yeah.
to the best of my ability.
Okay.
Or to.
I'm just asking, you didn't stay level, because that wouldn't make sense in a budget, but, especially with salaries. Okay. Not asking for any detail, I just want
No,
to
I
make
get-
sure that.
Right.
What is the total number of your staff right now?
200 and, I think it's 283.
How many are teachers
I can
in that? Thank you.
tell you for exactly, 170, 178 and a half. It was close when I said, what, 179 and a half?
Do you,
Those are everybody under the EBEA contract, which also includes nurses.
Okay.
So everybody under that contract is 100.8.
Not your admin, like,
180.5.
I guess, for lack of a better word, administrative staff. That's separate.
Well, you just gave
We
me.
have custodial, you
well, you have approximately, well, you have 100 and 102.5 that
200
are
and-
not,
250 in the budget, in our school operating budget. There's also an additional 30 or so that
Yep.
are paid under grants.
Sorry.
Revolving funds.
I look at it 283, because I know that's how many people that are reporting.
Oh, yeah, the grants.
Or grants, yep.
Yep. You get those every year.
Yep.
Those are the mostly like the special education grants and things like
And
that.
the
There's the state.
central school,
Yep.
pre-K,
Title I.
Title I.
Yep.
We pay for a lot of our instructional assistants through the grants.
94, 142.
94.
It's the special education.
do you have anybody that is not in a union? That is not, you don't have anybody that?
Just
to add.
Yeah, right. And the people that work in food
Right.
services,
Okay,
They're self-sustaining, right, in there.
and before and after care.
okay.
And those revolving accounts pay for those salaries for before and after care and food services. So some of the budget assumptions for FY 2020. Develop a needs-based budget, maintains current class sizes, meets contractual obligations. As you know, I just said the teacher collective bargaining is under agreement, bargaining agreement currently under negotiations. Bus transportation contract is currently out to bid, which we have the bids, but the school committee has not been able to review them. And it includes special education tuition costs increases, but zero increase in number of special education students.
Are you anticipating more special ed students, or
Well, we have.
is that too hard of a predictor?
Well, I don't think so. I think that we have really worked hard on a response to intervention program, and we're looking at identifying a student who needs support services outside the classroom, and we're looking at the tiered services that we offer. And what we're seeing is that we have been an over-identifying school district for many years. So we've had more students in special education than really, we've over-identified their needs, so we've had a lot of kids in there. And then as they grow older, they come out of some of these, we've worked so hard that some of the students try to exit out. It's harder to get out of special education service than it is to get in. But right now, I think we've got a good program. We're holding teachers to fidelity on our response to intervention, and I feel like we're holding that number tightly. And what we're finding is the students are excelling and having a better success rate, and the more that we do this. And Dr. Williams is really working on our universal design that will be working our UDL program over the next few years, having a truly inclusive school district. That's what we'd like to see. We'd like to see both special education teacher and general ed teacher in one classroom, and all students be able to be in one classroom instead of being pulled out. So we think that that'll help, and we'll start that at the lower grades as we work up and progress. So 2020 budget projection presented in 217 at FinCom public hearing and Board of Selectmen 218 budget meetings was $615,660. Our 2020 budget projection presented in 218 at FinCom public hearing and Board of Selectmen 219 budget meetings was $609,606, and our 2020 our budget currently is at $559,694. So I think we've been doing a good job of projecting and coming in below the number, but we've also given everyone sort of a heads up of this is the area that we're in. This is where we're at. We're not going over it. We've come in below what we've needed.
What are you seeing is the difference that has had you go down these last 3 years?
I think mainly special ed.
Special ed?
Yeah. Special ed tuitions account for a couple $1 million a year, and we've even though increases have occurred in tuitions, I mean, we just received notice, 2 months ago that one of the places where one of our children go is going up $20,000 next year. And that's something that we have no control over. That's something
Right.
that's
Yeah.
governed by the operational services.
But you get money back on that, right? The
circuit
75%, or the circuit breaker?
Circuit breaker.
But what we do with that, or what Mr. Shea does with the school districts, we pay ahead for many of those tuition costs
Yeah.
for next year so that we can take that burden off, and that's what it's supposed to be used for.
Right.
But we also have to keep monies in circuit breaker for those students who move into district who have
Right.
severe or potentially high needs or an out-of-district placement. We've also opened up classrooms here in the district to be able to allow students to come back to district. We certainly believe, I believe, and the vision of the district is the best place for a student is at home. You know, not to be on a bus for 45 to an hour and 15. We certainly want kids back here in the district, and we want them close to their peers, and we want them with their, next to their parents, and transportation is a high cost, and so is an out-of-district placement, so.
I know just watching you guys these past couple months as we've met a few times going through the budget is we have seen a big change in the special education numbers where you are constantly getting new information, and luckily this year it seemed to have worked in your favor as the costs were updated and came in, so.
No, and our special ed director, he's on I meet with them monthly in the cabinet meetings, but I meet with them on a weekly basis, and at the mid-year, they will tell us, these students will be aging out, these students may be going to job programs or a transitional program, and these students are ready to come back. So he's got a 3-tiered program of he knows who's aging out, which can give John the first group of, maybe we have 2 students that will be 22 years old, who will be graduating from the program. We'll loosen up maybe, a couple $100,000. The second tier will be those students who may be going out to a job program, who don't need the out-of-district placement anymore, will just need the transportation cost to the jobs program and a mentor, or the buddy program. And then the third would be any student that has been at a out-of-district placement and now has comprehensive skills to come back, and so then we have the program for them, and then they can come back to the district. So that's like the 3-tiered of, the first one is who's aging out, because that's the easiest one, who's
By
who's
age.
leaving. The second one is, what students could be going to a different program, and then the third is what students would be coming back.
And the fourth is what students
Coming
Oh,
in.
yeah.
coming in
Yeah.
Right.
that are going out.
And you don't usually have notice on that. That it happens and you deal with it.
Does that happen a lot?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yes.
Really?
yeah.
Does it happen generally at the kindergarten levels, or is it a lot of times?
It could happen at any time.
Mid-year?
We get letters from the Department of Ed that, we just got one, Dr. Williams, she oversees the homeless population, okay? So we have some students that are in that homeless population, and we had a student that might have been living in Boston, now living here, but remains in Boston. We have to share the cost of that student now. And we get that, and John will get that, Dr. Williams gets that letter, she has to make sure that the student is where they say they are. You would know as DCF
Yeah.
how that works, but then that goes through, Dr. Williams, then we vet it with John, and then he has to call and just make sure, how long was the student here, but we share the cost. And there's a few, we are sharing costs with a few students right now, So, but our requested increased trend, which I think is something that we wanted to just bring to the forefront here, is that in 218, our requested increase was $815,957. Percentage increase was 4.31%. 219 this year, last year was 578,854, which is 2.93%. And for 2020, it's 559,694, 2.75%. And I think that holds true, that when you do your contracts and the things that we've done, in the creative ways we've done some things in our contract, we knew that we would see that in the 2020 after the 3 years. So now, sort of, although everybody wants a lower number all the time, sort of came through with what we said we were going to do. We were here. Now it's, we'll see what happens. But this, right now, I'm happy with that. As we're come to it. So we talked about Chapter 70 funding. on that next page. I'm gonna let John, because it's complicated. I know that Melanie has
trying
asked
to,
questions,
yeah.
asked questions, but it is complicated. But I'll let John sort of talk to this.
Sure. I showed you a 4-year trend from 16 through 19. And over those 4 years, we received the minimum amount of reimbursement increase in our Chapter 70 funding. So we averaged about $60,000 a year. This year in the governor's budget, there was a recognition by the governor and the legislatures that we are underpaid. And it's estimated that we're underpaid about $1.5 million a year. And so the state has made changes in the Chapter 70 formula, specifically in reimbursement for special education and benefits. So those changes that they made actually, now we are above the minimum threshold, which is great news. Well, we should be receiving an additional $200,000 in Chapter 70 funding this year, which,
I was checking that out on the web.
yeah, which
Yeah.
is great. And I took a stab at looking at fiscal year '21. And if the trends continue with the inflation and the changes that the governor has proposed, and I vetted this with an expert just to make sure, because by putting this out, it kind of I would never budget this number, but I want to show you. Based upon what we know now, I mean, we could be looking at an additional $200,000 over what we received this year. So,
That must have felt good to finally be recognized this hearing. You guys have been underfunded, not that you wanted to hear that, but to
I think the
finally
whole
have
state.
the state.
Yeah, the
like,
whole state, yeah.
And I think that, what we're hearing from our end, the Business Administrators, Superintendent's Association, the school committees lobbying so hard for public education. And I think that finally that public education is starting to tread, and get some backing, because not only are we working with students for academic success, we also have social emotional,
Right.
a lot of issues, and we haven't even seen the opioid crisis really hit. We'll probably see that in the next 3 to 4 years. Yeah, and we're just about to see those kindergartens to those children. But we also are seeing, social emotional issues, anxiety, angst. So I think it's being recognized at that level, and if we don't financially support public education early on to educate people, then we're just going to continue and perpetuate the cycle of staying in that, so,
More money's always a good thing.
yeah, and if this were to happen, we would not see this. And I know that people want to say, well, if you're getting $200,000, why didn't you put it in your budget? Well, first of all, we don't know that for sure,
Yeah.
and we won't know that because usually the Senate, or the House will go, and then the Senate's got to go in. They're not going to do anything until like June 30th at 3
It's
PM in
sitting
the
in the
afternoon.
House right now,
And then, because July 1st, they start their vacation, like many of us. So we won't know until July 1, really?
but the
Yeah.
senators and the representatives that were here the other night.
Yes,
They said that
they believe
that
it.
was good.
Yeah.
That was a good estimate.
Yeah.
I mean, we're confident, but I don't want to say,
So is your budget built with that in?
no,
Okay, good. Well,
no.
Well, that would be in the revenue budget.
yeah.
And I don't know if that was built in the revenue budget or not.
I don't think it is.
But if we maintained on that revenue budget, it was historically a $60,000, so you would be adding $140,000 to it.
Right.
So. I just put some report cards in. This is where we are, and this was really just for,
I know some
As
of
we're
these
talking
were
to-
eye-opening to Jen and I at the presentation,
Yeah.
some of these numbers.
Yeah.
and every day you're working, so I think that we'll continue to work, and I think, the attendance rate is now part of the accountability system. So we will see that, and we're working on that. And we have 173 students at the junior, senior high school. They have 10 or more days absent. We've got to figure out why they were absent. Is it a long-term illness, or is it
That
school
was the
phobia?
question that I wanted to ask in regards to the newspaper article.
Mhm.
I think one of the questions that I had was that number is quite skewed, because if you have a child, the only reason why I say this is I had a kid that, my own child was out for almost 3 weeks at the beginning of the year, got really, really sick.
Right.
You know, and how do you then differentiate that? Because there's a major difference with a child that is out sick all of the time for social emotional issues, bullying, things like that, compared to a child who's struck with an illness possibly and was out. It skews your numbers.
Well, now with the new accountability system and the way that they're doing it, actually, Dr. Williams and I went to the DESE professional development on this. What we can be able to do now, if a student is going to be out for any amount of time, and they do online work, or they're doing Google work at home for the Google Classroom, or they're on Edgenuity, we offer Edgenuity, which is online coursework, that's counted as a day in school. So it won't count against you anymore.
What if you have an excused absence? Does that still?
There's no excused absence anymore.
Oh.
Excuse.
Can we not
I'll keep that in mind.
talk though about doing work at home? I don't want-
But it's
I just meant like doctors or.
Yeah, so even
Yeah.
if you have a doctor's note, let's say you have a
you gotta
contagious-
have a doctor's note to be excused.
Yeah.
But if a student breaks their leg and they're home for a month and a half,
Yeah,
they're doing online work,
Yeah,
we
that's-
don't count that against them.
right,
So it's no longer counted against them or the school.
yeah.
So as long as they're doing work at home or work online, it can be,
But is it fair to say that that number is skewed a bit because you're looking at it as a whole,
yeah.
statewide, and you're
Right.
not really
The way it's-
differentiating?
Right, the way it's done today, it's students out, they're out. If a student, we had a student who, and the way that the old attendance and the way that we have been doing it in the district is, if a student goes from here to an out-of-district placement, they've been putting them in as absent. Actually, Dr. Williams and I didn't realize this until we saw some of these numbers. We saw that one of the students who was an out-of-district placement, and we said, well, wait a minute, that student's going to school, he just said an out-of-district placement. So now, per pupil personnel and our services in special ed and some other areas that we would put a student out of district or into an out-of-district placement, now we look and now against the attendance record and against those students that are out, now we're going to clean that up. But prior to that, you're right, it was skewed because we weren't doing what we were supposed to do. Now that we see it, it'll turn around.
You have to learn from it.
Yeah.
too. You have to.
Yeah.
So do you find that absenteeism is a big issue, I guess?
I find more of lateness to school, tardiness is a bigger issue. I think that's a big issue. Kids not coming into school on time.
Okay,
Kids, or leaving, but that's a cultural thing that we need to change. If schools needs to be important, and kids need to know that
Yeah.
they're wanted and that
that's their job.
that's right. And the first period class is gonna be
That's
fun,
how
so
it
let's
is.
go. Let's get in there.
That is their
Even if
job.
it's at, 7:35 in the morning, it's gonna be fun, so get there.
Fun seems strong. But,
Especially
yeah.
when it changes every day.
Entertaining?
Yes. So, yeah, okay, I just,
So, and right now, we are partially meeting our targets, and this is a brand-new system. So, everything has been shifted a little bit, but for the district, we're partially meeting targets. We're not in the intervention state, or not in the area where they're going to come in and give us assistance or intervene in anything we're doing. But we still want to move that little red triangle to the left.
Can you explain, Dr. Williams kind of explained at the public hearing, Melanie, I don't know if you remember this, that every so often they reset the clock
Yeah.
because they want to push you back in order to move you forward, which that
Because
was an
everybody,
interesting
because you learn the
concept.
system, and once you learn the system, it gets easier, and then then all of a sudden, there's this big trend, everybody moves. And then, so what they did is they reset it, and the new MCAS, the next generation MCAS is now coming out, so it'll be that's gonna be done differently. Everybody's moving to online testing, so, you know, you're gonna see some difference in scoring on that, because the western schools don't have online testing, because not everybody has technology in western Massachusetts. So they've got to figure out how they're gonna do that, and how they're gonna compare schools, apples and oranges. We find that the urban schools have urbans against suburbans, and suburbans against rurals, and rurals against the urbans. So there's all of these things they take into accountability factors. And so when they reset by, all right, everybody's learned how to take the MCAS, and everybody's learned how to teach the MCAS, so then the new next generation MCAS, they redid the questions, they redid what they were gonna
So
be
nobody
asking.
gets comfortable.
So everybody get, right, because there was a comfort zone. Now they've recalibrated, so now it sort of pushes you. We're hitting a lot of the targets. We're at 45%. I know people are gonna say, well, that's less than 50%, and 50% is what, I know that people at home are gonna say, 50% when I was in school is failing. Well, it's not failing on the new calibration system. It's saying we can do better, but you're not doing terrible. And there's some areas that we need to look at. And I'll just bring up Mitchell School, the Mitchell School. They looked at their targeted responses in writing last year on the MCAS. They saw that some kids weren't doing the whole writing. They saw that kids were giving up on part of the writing part of the exam. They have worked diligently over the last year and this year. They've looked at data, they've worked on the writing program, they've worked with the students. We believe that with that targeted intervention and targeted work on with our students, we will see that go up. If that goes up, that's a subgroup that moves up, and then you'll see us move to the left a little bit more. So the subgroups that the data teams are looking at, they're looking at the MAP data, the MCAS data. Where are the areas that we went down in? One of them across the board in the district was writing. So if we all work on writing and that pushes, you'll see this move up. So the data's good. It helps us, and it keeps us healthy and strong in what we're looking at, what we're doing in the district. And the ClearGov, we've told everybody, that's just on our website. We're using a new transparent ClearGov website that helps us break down who we are. It talks about it gives you an overview of how many students we have, how many employees we have, our funding, the expenditures, where our students are against the state. All of the information on this is not from us. It is from the end of the year report, from the DOR, from the Department of Revenue, and from the end of the year report, and from our SIMS report that we give for the data on our students from DESE. So this isn't something that we're plugging in, or that anybody at EBPS is plugging in. This is information that is taken off the DOR website, and then it's taken off the state website for Department of Ed. So and it compares us to schools of likeness around us. I give them the schools that I think we should compare against in the South Shore. They've taken those, but you can also find other schools throughout the state to compare us with. So that's a nice, I really like the website. It's on our front page. If you open it up, you'll see ClearGov.
Yep.
You press on it and you can go to it.
Have you had a lot of inquiries about it?
Yes. Actually, we spoke to, we have a manager at ClearGov who just gives me some, who will email me and say, this is what you've had. I've had a couple of questions that I've answered, that I've sent back.
Do they keep track of hits to the page?
We did, and she said we had more hits than any schools that she has dealt with right off the bat. So it means that people are listening, hearing us. I think people like our new website that we've put up.
Yep.
A little bit easier to work with. John Shea had a lot to do with that, so I want to thank him. And if I don't, he'll get upset. I'm gonna bring it up for the 15th time in the last 2 days. But the website's much easier to move around, and it's clear. You can see things. It's easier. But yeah, we've had more hits to it. So people are engaged with the school district, but they also are engaged in the funding. So how does this work? Where does your PPE come from? Where does this come from? How are you getting your money? So I'll let John take some of these questions and, yeah. And then the line-by-line budget. Budget that I think people have asked for and wanted to see. And then there was some, in that orange folder that we gave. No. Do you not bring anything that you've gotten over 20 times? Melanie has been one of your liaisons to the district and had some questions that she sent out to us, or sent to John, and John has answered them and tried to get them back so that everybody can see the questions that she's asked, and then if you want to go over the line items and then the questions, or?
Sure. So this is our line item budget. This is in more detail than what we submit to the town to put in the warrant. A lot of these accounts roll into different lines on the warrant, but this is how we budget in more detail. It's broken up by the different schools for non-salary. It's broken up by athletics, professional development. So I don't know if you like to go line by line, but I'll start at the subtotals. If you have any questions, you can, I can try.
Can I just ask a question, just a general? We had found something with the Council on Aging. So your phone system, is it subbed out? Is it Comcast? Is your Wi-Fi Comcast? Is it like a town thing?
Well, our phone system is different than the town. Our phone
Because
system-
do you have like a Wi-Fi phone system?
Yes.
Okay. And then do you have Comcast for your Wi-Fi?
No.
No? Okay. All right. We just had something in Council on Aging and wanted to get them into like a network kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So,
And
to save money.
Yes, and one thing we have been doing a lot lately is we've had meetings with Brian, the new IT director for the town,
Yes.
and he's been meeting with the school IT guys and me, and
Yep.
we're trying to make sure that the things that we do.
He has a
same
lot of
for
good
the-
suggestions.
He's awesome. Andrew, the school's IT guy, is great. They work good together. They collaborated on some capital items,
Okay.
server upgrades and cameras and Wi-Fi.
Yeah, they got the Mitchell School up and running the cameras.
Cameras, right,
Yes.
and that was
Yeah.
part of a
Yeah.
grant that we did
Yeah.
with the police department. So now we're gonna be all on the same system. It's easier to maintain. Now,
Right.
instead of a system up here and a system
Yeah.
down here,
Single point.
we have one system, and
Group
that's.
purchasing and power is,
Yeah.
we need to be thinking that across the
Yes.
board.
And that's something, we should be able to do with Council of Aging and any other
Yeah.
Yeah.
department.
Yeah, they're kind of all
Yeah.
working together now, so.
Yeah, yeah.
Be good.
So he's been a breath of fresh air. He was good at it. Athletics, we had an overall, if you look at the subtotal, increase of $6,212. And that is an increase in our trainer agreement with Signature Healthcare. All of the line items we kept the same. Central school, you can see there's numerous line items that change, but for the most part, the central school, we had a decrease of $2,637. Professional development, last year we had a budget of $33,000, this year we dropped it down to $27,000. We also have a grant for professional development, which allowed us to decrease that number of $5,975.
So in the central school, just a quick question, you have all the different supplies and everything. Do your, the tablets fall into that too? Like, no, that's not,
Are you
okay.
talking Chromebooks?
No, central school, they got
Actually, it's
tablets,
yeah.
right? They use
Yeah, no.
tablets?
No.
Send it
I can
by text.
show you with that. High school supplies, and we have technology in its own grouping, so.
Okay.
We had a slight increase of $5,000 and almost every line item changed. We do a lot of analysis, making sure the line items are correct. We don't like to see line items stay the same year after year because that's the way it was. So
Do you do a look back? Do you go back and look over years and maybe take an average of the last 3 years or something? Or just to see the trend there?
Don't
or
really,
what
not really an
actual
average.
spending to,
Not really an average.
Yeah.
For the last couple of years, we look at the last couple of years.
okay? Just to see the trends, I guess.
Right.
Because I noticed that your textbooks went down in both central school and high school. Is that because you're leaning more towards online with the
Yes.
Google Chrome and the, whatever the technology
We're
is
buying
involved with
apps.
it? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
What sorts of things go into the student activities expense?
That is a budgeted line item for orientation for guidance.
Okay.
Is that the, like the right before school starts
Yes.
program?
And
that you
during
do?
the summer.
Oh, right, Stonehill. Okay.
And you see library books increased 3,000. That's just a shift out of one line item. We had our library books all budgeted in one line item under the system-wide category. We broke those out by school. That's why you see an increase there. IT. This is where our copier leases, our networking, telecommunications, our instructional software and hardware is budgeted. Last year, we had a budget of 272, and this year, we actually are projecting a decrease to 266, a decrease of $6,000.
What's DW Info Management in
District-wide.
district? Okay.
Why such a
Accurate.
jump? Do you know?
In which,
That's-
which?
On
Is
that
that because
line
the
item.
textbooks all are going under there?
I'm sorry, which line item?
That.
The
same
district-wide
thing,
info.
management.
I think is that the new time and attendance?
The new
Okay.
That is time and attendance, that's what time and attendance goes, that's where all our,
Because that program's new, right? That
Right.
would probably be a lot of that
that's where our
$20,000
scheduling system
increase.
goes, that's where all the,
Textbooks, like the apps that you buy, or?
no, those are all in the
That's
classroom.
different. Okay. Classroom.
In the class, you see
Yep.
central school, middle school, high school.
96, 97, 98.
If we purchase a district-wide program, it would go into that line item. If we
Okay.
purchase a specific program
School.
for central school, it would be in the central school line item.
Probably the ClearGov.
ClearGov would
That
be
would
in
be in there.
586.
Now, is every town in Massachusetts using ClearGov? Or is it only if you approach them to?
Not every town, but I can tell you more and more are doing it.
Yeah. I didn't know how new it was to.
I think it's
out
been
there.
going on, I just don't think it's caught on as much as it is now, and I think
Okay.
a lot is caught on because
Yep.
education was stalled, and we weren't seeing the funds.
Yep.
And so a lot of people, that's how I started it, you know, met the guy down at the Superintendent Association and that, at the conference, and then started talking to him, and then found out that Norton was doing it, Easton was doing it, you know, more and more schools around us.
Yeah.
So you know, how do, people like it, is it good?
Yep. Nice.
Mitchell School of Music on the next page. Mitchell School, we have a decrease of $2,880, and for music, we have a $17,000.
How come the middle school phone is now 0?
Remember when we went back and, it's under the district-wide.
Okay.
We moved all the.
Everything
phone-
to that.
Everything to the district-wide
Okay.
line item. So you'll see an increase in the district-wide line item,
Mhm.
which is on the next page.
Are uniforms on like a schedule for music, like they're purchased every 2 or 3
I
years?
think 30
or-
years.
I think the last ones were like 20 years old
Yeah,
or something.
that's why I,
Gotcha.
Athletics, we do have a 5-year schedule,
Rotation,
much
yeah.
like our curriculum.
Okay.
For athletics, we do have a 5-year schedule
Mhm.
for athletics, but Our music
Music's
uniforms,
We had to.
Yeah,
Couldn't
they-
see
they
those
were-
anymore.
No.
Right? Well, I hope they like the ones that they have now.
But I can tell you, our band is all over the place, and
They go to so many.
they go to great, you know,
Yeah.
all places. We wish
Yeah.
we could get them more stuff, because they really do a great job when they perform. They go to, I mean, any place that wants them to march, they march.
Yep.
They go to jazz
Burlington
festivals,
Parade
they go
and-
to the Berkeley Festival, I mean, he's all over. Ray's terrific, and Mr. Hatchfield, they do a great job, and Miss, and CD Pamela, they get them all over the place, so. I want them to look just as nice as everybody else.
The next page is our special ed category. And you can see we have, this is where the majority of our expense lies, $2.3 million in special ed tuitions, transportation, clinic services, psych services, eye exams, this homeless transportation. So we feel pretty good. Well, I'd never like to see a $72,000 increase, but from what I'm hearing from other towns, they're seeing hundreds of thousands of dollars of increases in special ed.
Mhm.
And I think our special ed department is doing a
Terrific job.
A great job.
Yep.
And below that is system-wide, and you can see that the telephone system line increased.
Yep.
That's where the offset of the decreases in the separate school telephone lines.
Crisis and security communication, are you guys, do you have the ability to use or tap into the Code Red system at all with the police department?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, we're on a, we have a, in each office, there is a, what do you call it? It's like a CB radio. I don't know what you call it.
The red button.
Yeah, so we can just turn around and just call them and tell them that we need help and support. And then Chief Allen helps us buy the handheld radios.
mm-hmm,
And so we're gonna get some more this year, and we're hoping that comes through the grant.
He did his presentation last week, and it sounds like you guys have a great relationship.
Oh, yeah.
Working together,
Yeah.
so that
Yes.
was really good to hear.
Yep, he talked about the Kid in Need program and
Yeah.
all that, yep.
Yep. That has been one of our probably best programs we have.
Yep. And the two DARE officers.
And the two DARE, we have one that, Talitha Connors,
Yep.
who's with us every day, and then Cecilia Cacciatore, who's there pretty much all the time.
Yep.
She's in and out of the buildings, so
Mhm.
she keeps the movement where Talitha might settle in a building for a day. Most of the time at the high school, they'll be walking around.
I see her in the mornings.
She sees it, she opens up every building, and
Okay.
usually closes each building. So,
The last two pages are all the salary line items.
Is 132 where the Mitchell School security is
Yes.
added?
So do all of your administrators go up by 5%? Or is that just,
no.
okay.
My assistant principals are on a contract.
Okay,
Contract, and my principals are at will to the superintendent on yearly contracts with a 3-year parameter. Mine's 5, right? I have a 5-year. I have 5 years. Dr. Williams has 3. She'll come up on this year, and then,
okay.
The substitute pay went up 20%. Was there a reason? Or,
That was an increase. We're having trouble getting enough substitutes. We pay $75
I know.
a day. Other districts are paying more.
so we're not
Yeah.
competitive? with, or you're losing
Right,
them to other
so
districts?
we've added a couple things that if they're there more, if they're gonna be in a long-term position, first 10 days is 75, and then we go up from there. If you're there for 20, it's $85 a day, if it's, so.
So if there was
sometimes
like
we
a
just-
maternity leave or something?
Yeah, if we know that there's coming on a maternity leave, we just offer them what it would be. But we're not out of the range of anybody else either. I mean, Brockton's at 75.
Easton went up to 90.
The Easton, she pushed to 90 because she was
She
having
can.
trouble. We spent $153,000 on substitutes last year.
Is that an average for you or high? I just-
It typically runs about 150.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you track like how many positions, like, because I have heard that you're having a hard time, and we've felt it. You track kind of when you have unfilled positions and how many times you can't fill them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's substantial.
Yes.
I understand, yeah.
And we're finding that, and one of the things that we have improved on, before we did not give access, the principals did not have access to the ASOP attendance system, so they couldn't see the other buildings. So when they were giving a personal day to a teacher, or a professional development day, that maybe a teacher had out of Central School, and Mitchell School had 2 personal days, and the high school had 2 personal days and 3 people going for PD, the principals couldn't see that. So now that we're looking into that, the principals can see each other's buildings. So if the high school has nobody absent on tomorrow, then Mitchell School knows that there might be an extra sub coming over, or.
So do you only grant based on what
Right
you
now,
have
yes.
availability?
We have 3, I think it's 5 at the high school on a daily basis, and
Yeah.
2 and 2. I think it's 5-2-2 or 5-3-3. We are looking at that.
Yeah.
But we need to look at a district-wide at this time. We've got a lot of PD going on, we've got a lot of
Right.
things happening at the same time.
The
so.
opportunities.
And we have IEP meetings going on in each building on a daily basis. You know, one building goes Tuesdays, somebody goes Wednesdays, and somebody just goes Thursdays. The IEP coordinators have to coordinate between them, each of the buildings, because there's gonna be, we need sub-coverage for those teachers who need to be in those
Be there,
individual
yeah.
education planning meetings. So you're pulling from every which way. And we have maternity. We have 2 out right now on maternity. We have 2 on long-term illness right now. And then we had a bad year on the flu.
Yeah.
And we're still combating that.
It's not
for
over.
the buildings. No, it's not.
Yeah, it's not over.
No.
The home tutors, is that connected to Title I? Is that the one that's connected to Title I,
No, that's mostly connected to special ed.
special ed?
I assume your directors are contractual, so are some of them stipends on top of
No.
your, no?
Oh, like
Like maybe
the athletic directors.
athletic director, music director.
There's
you
no
have some
stipend for the
miscellaneous?
athletic director.
He's a straight salary.
He's straight salary.
Yep.
The music is Ray Ponte, and he does receive a stipend, and Mr. Hatchfield receives a stipend. And the coaches' salaries. So most of the coaches are faculty, employees here
Yep.
in the district, and then they'll receive a coaching stipend.
There are a lot of advisors too
Yeah.
that receive
At
stipends.
the high school.
Like class advisors, things
Yep.
like that, right?
We also have facilitators, K through 8 facilitators for each grade level.
Is that like a lead teacher?
I'm sorry, lead teachers, we do have 2 facilitators in the district. They're teachers, but they have a stipend to be, one is a K through 12 curriculum facilitator, and the other is technology facilitator.
Oh,
And they're in the classrooms helping teachers with curriculum, instructional strategies, both technology and just working on teaching.
Okay.
Then we have lead teachers. 4 years ago, we took out department heads. We are looking at that again, or looking at some component to try to figure out how to help, because the high school's different. You have silos, you have, it's
By
different.
subject?
By subject, they're disciplined. It's not a grade level. You have sciences, you have math, you have English, social studies, where you may have 4 or 5 teachers in each of those silos. From 9 through 12, and then you have 7th and 8th, and right now the 7th and 8th are on teams. However, they need to be in one of those silos as well as being on a team. So, a little different how we look at those.
So,
Yes.
sorry.
Nope, go ahead.
So on some line items, and I'm a little sensitive not to call out, but if we see a large increase or a decrease, are those contractual increases? So again,
Yeah,
if we see a 24% increase on one person's,
Do you have, just tell the number, if you say the number
yep,
to me.
122,
122?
That's contractual.
That's contractual.
that is, okay, and 103.
Is.
The music master pay.
That is a stipend that's part of the EBCAM agreement.
So it's gone down?
That is contractual. Last year was budgeted at an amount higher than what it should have been, 9,000 last year.
What about maintenance man pay?
That's
It's
part-
0?
Yeah, that's part of our negotiations with the new custodian agreement.
Okay.
If you look at those custodian lines and take them all, group them all together, what line are you at?
It's
Oh,
3,
314?
yeah.
Yeah, so you'll see, that was a shift from 317 to 360.
Okay.
We're using the soft rate
Mm-hmm,
budgeting system, so,
yep.
and
Soft rate system.
well, soft rate system.
The
budget system is him.
The budgeting is done in a 40-page.
Yeah.
Budgeting.
I know what that's
It's
like
in John's head.
at work.
But I think
100,000 pages.
we're getting better at making sure that everybody is on the line that they should be. And the more, the
Yeah.
better we get at it, the better we get ingrained with it, the more we're putting them where they absolutely belong, so we can,
Easier to track people that
easier to
way.
track,
Yeah.
and it's easier to budget.
Right.
And it's good that you're doing district-wide versus specific schools,
Right.
because that matters too.
Right.
So that's good. It's good to see.
But we would love for the town to look into the soft rate budgeting system. I think that would help everybody.
Well, I think going back to, do we, have, what did you call it? You said like one bin, if you have technology, if you have the phone systems all in one
Like a
pump.
Well,
stream.
it's.
Single stream, thank
Yeah.
you. I think it helps if we do as much as we possibly can that is consistent and cohesive and everyone's on the same page.
The amount of inefficiency right now in all departments, because we don't have one system, is,
Duplicative,
Hmm?
very duplicative,
yes.
yeah.
That's a big word, can you spell that?
Was that on Jeopardy last night?
Really, you gonna tell me it's a big word in front of the department?
I won't be able to
I
spell
am a
it.
proud graduate of East Bridgewater High School,
Wow.
though.
But I think other departments are starting to see that. We had someone for permitting, right? Trying
Oh,
to
yeah.
encourage going on the same system for permitting
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's so
Yeah,
much easier.
training.
That the
Right.
ability to talk with each other, just, like Melanie said, the police chief working with you, showing that you can work together to get grants together. It's just, it's
Well,
a great thing.
we've talked about even with like the DPW during the winter time,
Oh, yeah.
to work together to do preventative maintenance in the buildings. Come in, and I know that they're busy. I'm just saying that, if there's 3 or 4 people that can come inside and help do preventative maintenance, it's just we're all in this together. And if there's line items in the soft rate system and they're budgeted properly, then we should be able to handle that as a cohesive unit.
Thank you for showing it to us this way. I don't know that I've ever seen anything, it wasn't part of the discussion in the last couple of years, but it's very helpful to have it broken down this way, so
Mhm.
thank you.
Yeah, obviously a ton of work goes into this, and I think with it like this, you see all the little details that come into play. It's not just one big number that you're trying to figure out. I know for me, I have to see it like this to try to get a handle on it, so,
Visual is always good.
yes.
That was definitely something that I think it has benefited me and Melanie, you know, having the departments come in and do a presentation and go over what they do every day has been a real eye-opener, and now that these are being taped for the community to see, I think that that's a great step moving forward. I think that's all been very helpful. You know, John Haynes has come in, the fire chief, the police chief, it's been very, very helpful. At least for me, I
Yeah,
don't speak for
definitely.
anybody
Yep.
else.
In the orange folders, Melanie had asked to try to explain what per pupil expenditure is. I won't go
Yeah.
through it now. 'cause
Yeah.
we're doing
And it was something at the budget presentation that just took me by surprise. I just wanted to get a little more detail and see. So John was nice enough to try to kind of pull it together, and I still wanted to spend more time going through it. So, but I thought that anything that I had might be helpful for you guys too. So he was
Thank you.
nice enough to pull it together for everybody. So.
Maybe not at 7:45.
And you don't want a lesson on it right now,
Yeah.
it's really good reading material.
Yeah, so there was that, and there was the support for some of the line item changes, I think, and a lot of the social emotional, 'cause that was where some of your biggest changes were personnel-wise. And that was interesting because last week, it also kind of overlapped with a lot of what the police department was saying.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, you guys aren't alone, and there's other people trying to fight the same battle. What we
Right.
were made.
And I
very
think
clear
that the chief and I have talked about it. I know that, I think they have a social worker now that's working with them. Or
Yes, they
social
do. They
services.
share it with 3 towns, though, and he was
Right.
saying that.
And that's something that, we're working with North River Collaborative, where we have, we're gonna have 3 social workers come in that are interns that are working on their required hours so they get their state certifications. But doesn't mean they can't work under the umbrella of our school psychologists. They can still talk to students, they can still keep notes, and they can still brief the school psychologist as they get their numbers. It's like an emergency room doctor, it's like being, a doctor getting their hours. So we're, instead of spending, $55,000 on a first-year teacher, we're spending $28,000 or $30,000 on 3 people.
Right,
And
that's
North
excellent.
River we're guaranteeing these students to get their hours, but now we have more people, more legs on the ground,
Right.
more staff for students.
Will they be here?
Yes, they're gonna be here different days of the week, so we have
Okay.
3 of them, might have Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, Tuesdays, Thursdays,
Split it up.
and Central School, Mitchell School, and the high school.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So will it be 3 every day?
It could be, it might be
Or
2 it might be
depending
2
on
on one day,
class.
1 on another, it might be
Yeah.
3. We might start them all Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of every week, just to get them in, get them to identify some students. And it may be, I know that the school psychologist, along with Karen Clifford, who oversees them, and Dr. Williams, are looking at different ways of, do we go 3 days in a row? Do we go Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, all 3 of them,
Right.
different buildings? Or do we work with and the school psychologists tell us, maybe the school psychologists continue to do their testing, continue to work with their students that they already work with, and then students who are coming in on a daily basis that have issues that are just popping up on a daily basis, anxiousness, anxiety in classes, school phobia, bullying issues, a traumatic situation, a student that had a kin the night before.
School phobia.
They don't want to come to school. They dread coming to school. Once they get to school, they want to leave school. There's some type of trauma.
You have to be anxious.
Could be test anxiousness. It could be anything. But we're seeing an increase in that on a daily basis. So the school psychologists, they have their load.
Right.
Are there
so-
grants available? You know, it seems really, you know, again, going off on what the chief had presented, you know,
Right.
going out and training
That's-
his people going out, you know, that you might have a domestic situation and that child might then have a blip on the screen
Right.
and to be able to work with the school. I mean, it would be really, I think, in the town's best interest to think about long-term. I know that,
And that's
you
what
know,
we're,
you
that's
always
what,
have a residency, you know, I mean, you always have to learn, but at the same time.
and that's something that we're talking, like he and I have been talking about different ways of allocating funds and working together to do this, because we both need people to support kids and adults. I mean, I'm sure that some of my teachers need a break, and some of my staff need a break, or somebody needs an outlet at some time in the day. But that's something I think in the long term, if we keep looking, that, you know, how do we support each other in this? But, you know, we're seeing a lot, I mean, we just had a kin today that had, I saw 2 kins today already during the day, one before school, right before school, and then one right immediately after. So this isn't just, you know, on the weekends anymore. This is every day, all the time.
Now, do other districts do this as well? Use the North River Collaborative?
Yes.
Is that some, okay.
That's what
'Cause I'm
happened.
wondering if this is successful.
It is
are
very
more people
successful.
going to-
Bridgewater
and then we'll lose
Rainham-
it, I guess.
Bridgewater Rainham is involved, but West Bridgewater, Dr. Oakley is the one who said, Liz, you gotta do this, because they didn't have the money
Mhm.
as well, but they have some issues,
Mhm.
and they needed some support. They said they can't even, it's the best thing that they've done. It saved them they had 2 in there.
Will they
this
be
year.
using the same people that you're
No.
using? No.
No.
There's enough, that's what.
Yeah, it's out of Bridgewater
That's my
State.
question, so that, is there enough
We're-
candidates and,
Oh,
you know, for them,
Yeah,
for the
Bridgewater
hours that
State-
you'll always
Bridgewater
be
State
able to have?
has a great social services program.
Oh, okay.
So those students that are in their senior year, or that are ready to do their,
They're LICSW.
yeah.
So we'll be staying ahead of the game, kind of.
Yes.
This is what I.
And I know that Steve
Successful.
Donovan, the executive director, they're working with more colleges to try to get more, because this is becoming a huge need across the state. And the collaboratives are even having trouble keeping enough licensed social workers in. Oh, yeah.
Okay, wow.
I think the one thing that I worry about is just the continuity, the consistency.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you have multiple people coming in and out, you know, you're dealing with a child who has social emotional needs.
Mhm.
You're probably going to see them for
Overtime, right.
over time. You know, I think the nurses, being
Yep.
consistent with the nurses, because then you get
Yep.
to know kind of what that specific child's need is.
And that's why, you know,
So to be proactive.
when I first got here, there was two psychologists that worked the entire district. We have one in each building right now, and they have a tough time keeping up with their caseload. So if we can help them with these 3 people, 3 interns, and we can keep giving the intern, I agree with what Jen is saying, that a student that's already on the caseload remains with that school psychologist. These really are the triage people, Jen, that, you know, if something happens at 10 o'clock in the morning, we have someone there to talk to the child. And that's really what we need. We just need more, you know, hands on deck. And if we can do it like this and get 3 people,
For
and
short
spend
money?
less money, yeah, and, you know, to keep the buildings and to keep kids safe and successful. That's our
Well,
goal.
thank you
It'll
for
also
being
help the
creative.
school psychologist too.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
I have a question. I'm
Absolutely.
sorry, I want to get back to numbers, sorry. I should have chimed in before we went on that. Can you do a little quick overview of revolving accounts? You know, when we look at like athletics, for example, only because it's first on the sheet, we know that we have an athletic revolving account,
Right.
and kind of how is the funding working for that revolving account, how the balance is running versus what we're putting on for expenditures out of the budget?
Yeah, I did not bring the balances for the revolving accounts, but I can certainly share them with you when I get back from vacation.
What?
Oh, it is about that time of year.
There are revolving accounts, we have an athletic revolving account with the fees for the students to to play athletics is deposited. Out of that revolving account, we pay for, you'll see busing here at $28,000. That's what we pay out of the operational budget, but our busing for athletics is really about $90,000.
Yeah.
So that's all paid through the revolving account. All the umpires, referees, is there anything else? Yeah, umpires and referees are paid through the revolving account.
Dues, the MAA.
Yeah, dues are paid through the revolving account. So I.
Dues to like the
The
MIA.
MAA,
Yeah.
yeah, so that we can belong to the interscholastic league.
Okay.
So, and that revolving account balance has remained pretty steady, but that's also allowed us to fund women's hockey. We use the revolving account for women's hockey. And it looks like this year we may be adding a boys tennis team.
If,
I heard you had quite the turnout. for
15
tryouts.
boys.
Yeah.
Really?
Heard.
Yeah, which is terrific.
Because I know, I think on the website it says girls tennis, right?
Yeah, but.
But I knew boys played, yes,
there was
last
a
year.
handful.
Yeah,
was a
last year the
handful.
handful,
They
they
did
played the
have a-
JV schedule.
Yep.
Oh,
Tried to
okay.
get them to the JV schedule this year. It looks like, after talking to the athletic director today and as he came in to see me, we think we'll split the teams and we'll try to do both, like when Middleborough, just like when girls basketball plays Middleborough, boys play at home, so we flip-flop. So,
Okay. Do other surrounding towns have enough to, they do?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Which, that's why when he came in to say to me today, he goes, you gotta open up another team. I said, slow down. But to bring up the revolving accounts, food services has a that, when I first came in, we were in the deficit on that, and Deb Vaughn and the food services have really come a long way. They've done a great job at recouping that and working within their parameters, but what they've done is, last year they painted the Central School, this year they're painting Mitchell School. They bought us tables for both Mitchell and Central Schools, which was about $80,000 last year. They've painted the kitchen and the cafeteria where the kids sit. They're doing the same thing at Mitchell School this year. She's bought warmers. She buys her own equipment. They're buying, Dr. Williams is helping pick out colors right now. They're doing some high-top tables for the junior, senior high school to make it more like of a bistro type of cool-end cafeteria.
Kind where you stand around.
Yeah.
Those good?
Yeah, and she's gonna buy some out in front of the gymnasium.
Oh, yeah.
Good idea.
So that, because they sell the pizza and this and that at halftime and at the basketball games or at
Yeah.
cheerleading competition, which is terrific. We're state champs. Let's add that tonight. So they're doing, that's a great revolving account. Our before and after care, I mean, that is just really jumped.
Self-sustaining, too.
That's self-sustaining, and we're looking at opening up a room that has not been used down at Mitchell School, which was, I think it was the old shop room downstairs. And we're gonna use some funds out of that to paint, refurbish the room, bring it up, so that parents can drive down in, you can drop
Oh,
off and
right.
pick up right
It's
there.
the Condon's room.
It's down below. But it'd be a good area for them. It's big. She could do a lot, but it goes out to the fields, it's away from the road.
Yeah.
Parents can come down, pick up and drop off there. And she's self-sustained. They've done a lot of great things there.
Well,
that-
one thing,
He's going away tomorrow.
Yeah.
He's gotta get the
Gotta get
last
it
word
all.
in
Get
tonight.
Nancy.
I cannot wait for tomorrow morning.
So ask more questions.
Yeah.
so
Keep John going.
if you look in your orange packet, this may give you a good idea of what is spent out of revolving funds and grants. If you look at C1 and C2,
What page is
It-
that on?
C1 and C2.
C1 and C2.
The signal sheet, double-sided.
It's like my battleship.
Might be this one. Might be this one.
It's a, it's a, wor- it's a. it's a
I see what it says C.
Landscape?
Yes.
Has a C.
Nice job, nice job.
Oh, yeah, this is,
Oh,
good.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
this is 2017, because this, sorry about the size of the print. But this
Need a
is,
microscope.
this is 2000.
Better up close.
This is 2017, because this is the latest information I have off the DESI website. But this shows you all the expenses that go into the per pupil expenditure. So you see that first column? That is what we talked about today. Our school budget. Then we have an allocation from the town of all the expenses that the town allocates to us. And then you'll see in columns 3 through 10, those are all the expenses we pay out of grants and revolving funds. So to answer your athletic fund question earlier, in 2017, we paid almost $200,000 worth of expenses out of the athletic fund. And you'll see under column 7, school choice and other tuition, we paid $723,000 out of those revolving accounts.
By law, you're only allowed to spend certain things out of certain
Right.
revolving
Right.
accounts.
Right.
But this gives you an overview. I'm happy to share where we are now with the detail when I get back.
Because one of the things we are asking and trying to figure out a good way to see it, as with all departments, because everybody is now more and more tapping into grants and tapping into
Right.
other financial sources to help kind of.
Get
but-
it on soft right. Get soft right.
Right, so
Get
trying to
everything
see.
on soft right.
Yeah, so if we can see, so we don't always see the other side of the detail, and it's
Right.
hard to say, what
On the
you're,
town
what you're
side,
then,
Yeah.
well, on any department.
On the town side, I mean, I don't know how you can budget for the enterprise funds, if, water,
Well, but even-
sewer, if
even
it's
here,
not on soft right, or
Right, so
even
like
here,
even
right?
But even here, like, we see, this is the expenses, so only half the story, right?
Oh, they
So-
just do it on Excel.
So seeing,
I do have
actually
QuickBooks
seeing,
in Excel.
to have the full financial picture, seeing how much you're getting in grants, so we know,
Mhm.
that part.
Right.
Again, God forbid, something dries up, what would the impact be? So I think it's really just, I think it's just something we need to think about for all departments as we're having these
Yep.
discussions, of how to get that really full picture.
Yep.
So, I don't know the answer yet, of how the best way for us to see it, but.
I think that in the orange,
Yep.
you can see a lot of it. I mean, I just bring up what we're doing, some of the smaller things, $80,000 worth of tables is $80,000 worth of tables. And what can we do, those revolving accounts, what can we pay for and what cannot, what can we pay for? What salaries can be pulled? Can we allocate some of Dr. Williams' salary to school choice? Can we do some of her salary to transportation? Or is it John that goes to transportation, or is it, who is it? Who oversees those areas in the district, and how do we use those? And we do that. And I think that that's something that we're trying to do a better job at, to support, the success of everybody in the town. And we have the kids. I look at it, we have the kids in the town. And that's where the success comes from. And if they're happy, then parents are happy and everybody's happy. So,
Is there any crossover, when you have line 1 and line 2, and you have the town appropriation? Is there crossover? I mean, I'm assuming, like, down below the DPW, I know that there was a huge move to hire Brian Kiley, that certain things shifted to different departments to cover your needs, but is there any overlap or crossover?
I guess I don't understand.
Are we accounting for those expenses, and so if a portion.
I know what
of
you're talking
these-
about.
Yeah.
So you saw Brian Kiley's salary on the DPW budget, correct? Is
There
that what
was
you're saying?
certain.
Oh,
there
but
was cer-
but he breaks out.
He
Right.
breaks it out, but there,
Breaks out
he
school.
Okay.
breaks it out the school, but is there, I guess, just trying to understand, line 1 and line 2 and making sure
Yeah, no, there's no crossover.
there's no crossover. So it's broken.
All those expenses at the end of the year just get, I get a report from the town
Okay,
that tells me how much of those expenses that aren't in our budget I need to add to the end of the year report.
okay.
So health insurance
Health
and
insurance,
fringe and
right.
all that stuff, yep.
Salaries from the town hall and things like that. Does that
Okay.
answer you?
I just was curious, I know that certain things are handled by different departments, but benefits the school. I just wanted to make sure,
Yes, so those
are in
those items should be allocated back to us, but they're in separate budgets.
but it goes to your overall cost. That's what you're saying,
Goes to our
so,
overall cost and our per pupil expenditure.
If you look on D1 and E1, they're in there, so,
E1 will give you a.
and E2.
E1 and E2 gives you a detail of those town costs that are allocated to us at the end of the year.
And that's the end of the year report, town allocation, on these two sheets. And then on this one is the
That's just.
D1
reconciliation.
in the reconciliation.
What about the sewer treatment plant? I don't see that. Of course. Shouldn't that be included?
I'd have to ask Brian.
Soup.
The sewer treatment plant, wouldn't that, their costs be included as well?
I'd have to ask about that. It would probably be right now under just DPW. They break it out in sewer.
Maybe it could be included in rep maintenance building grounds, or, I don't know.
How many people do you have retiring this year?
Two.
Two?
One at the junior senior high school, one at New Metro School.
are the Aggies and the VOTEC schools in here under line 2, John, or?
They're in our operating budget. They're actually in the PPS category, account 629.
You see it, Jen? It's the 5th page.
Is it not on here? In the PPS,
It says Aggie
629
School.
Aggie School.
Am I like looking right at it?
It's under the PPS.
Oh, I was looking down here, sorry.
Hopefully that can go on there. Better hope not.
So do they typically carry those students for the per pupil expenditure if they're not attending your school? I know the town, where you're paying for the Aggie, the town pays for the VOTEC, but is that skewed in regards to per pupil?
So you'll see on C2, it's red on my page. There's certain line items, the shaded ones are not included in per pupil expenditure. So those tuitions,
So where do you see, which line is that?
8710, the last one? Oh, sorry.
Oh, all right, regional school assessments,
Yes,
okay.
so
So it's
that-
taken out.
yeah. The shaded
You can
lines
also see it down the bottom, too.
are not included in per pupil expenditure.
So I was gonna say they have their own, I just was curious.
Mhm.
And they can raise without talking to us. They can do their own.
Yeah, I just got a letter from Southeastern.
Yeah, they can raise their own tuition
Yeah.
without having conversation with the schools that work with them.
Yeah. I do that,
Does anyone, oh, I can ask a question later.
You can always email us. I mean, if you,
While John's on
and then we can
vacation.
send it to
Yeah.
everybody.
I just was curious what the history is in regards to the difference with the Aggie and the VOTEC, how the town pays for the VOTEC, school budget pays for the Aggie. I just was curious if there's any historical data on that. Probably have to go back.
I have
look at
historical
it.
data on what has been paid. I don't know why it was.
The reasoning.
The reasoning behind
Yeah,
it.
no reason. But I know Southeastern years ago was over $1 million.
Mm.
Now it's down.
What,
Seven-
70?
Did you have any issues this year? I know last year we talked about how several students started off the year going out to the Southeast Regional and then turned around and I flipped it back. Once we are enrolled in that, we're kind of in it. Do we lose that? Do we have to pay it? Or can we recoup that if there's a change?
It takes a while to get it back,
Okay.
and you gotta follow the student. And then there's so many days that they can be there. You know, if the student's there for a week,
You have a shot.
you got a shot. But if the student's there more than so many days,
Because they can't fill the spot, right? So it's like they're taking up a spot.
Mm. And I know last year we had a couple of that. Were any issues this year?
but not that I know of.
Okay.
We don't see that right off the bat.
Mm.
And that's, you know, that's the tough part about the VOTECs and the Aggies, that they don't have to report back to, because they deal with all schools. It's not just, they're not just getting them from EB, so it's hard. They don't have to report back. They'll tell you, you know, we'll get something from them, but not a lot of information.
Yeah, we do, for Southeastern, we do reconcile the student report every quarter to make sure what they're reporting was the same as what we have record of.
But then you're playing catch-up all the time.
Yeah, chasing the tail constantly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so I have a general question, and it's more just statewide procedure, or even, I guess, just procedure in general. So we have everyone come and do budget presentations here from the departments of the town, and we look at everyone's budgets to see if they make sense, and we'll address if there's any changes that we want to make or recommend. Because really, as you all know, we are an advisory committee that takes into account the town as a whole, and look for the best interests of the town, obviously. But so my question is, you met with the town and certified a budget.
I met with, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the school.
meeting.
But you also had the public meeting.
Yes.
that
Yep.
you did.
Yes.
So you certified a budget.
Mhm.
Now, if there was, as we know, the last years have been pretty contentious, and just wondering if there was any issues that people had and wanted to change your budget, how would, I guess, in the process, where would that fall? For example, if we had an issue with the fire department, and we approached Chief Herron and talked to him about, can you cut here or wherever we have a question on, and he'll get back to us, talk to us about it, and made the decision, you know, because we have to provide a balanced budget. Where in that process is for you, or is that not?
Well, I think we started at 3.54
Mhm.
at the beginning of this process.
Mhm.
And we continue to try to work back
We're at 2.75 right now.
Yep.
Do I have some more special education room that I would like to tell you that I have?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't have it yet.
I'm not saying
No,
that
but
there's,
I'm just,
Yeah.
the problem I think with the schools, which
Yeah.
may be different than others, is that, I guess it's like with everybody else, I wish, town meeting was in October. Because we would know what the allocations were, we would
Right.
know what I got on July 1st, we would know where we were maybe for the upcoming year, we would know out-of-district placement and students that came back.
Mhm.
Maybe that would be better. I don't know if I could cut anymore.
and I'm not asking
I
you
know
to
that. I guess,
per se.
I guess
That's not-
we brought it back as far as I could at this point,
Mhm.
and that's why I asked the selectmen to push out the meeting because of the EBA. I said, I knew that we were gonna go in May, I said, can we go in June, because we have negotiations, and we have,
We don't know where it is in the house.
we don't know. And if, and again, if that 200,000 were to be allocated to the town, that could help.
Yep.
That could certainly help and I would certainly come back around in October and say whatever, if we need a special town meeting to adjust that.
Right.
And
Yep.
then bring it back. So I certainly would do that. But I can tell you this, that I am not opposed to meeting at any time with any of the departments.
Mhm.
And I think the big three of the town and then the school department will start meeting on a regular basis. And I think we need to all we need to have a strategic plan. We need to have a
Yep.
vision or a 5-year plan. I mean, we're having one, and I think you gotta start with everybody's contractual obligations across the board.
Mhm.
Because that's where you gotta start, because
Well, the only thing you can cut is expenses, and expenses is
That's right.
salary. Is it salary, fringe, indirect?
exactly, and we were very creative in our contracts. I think we've done a good job with our
Mhm.
contracts across the board. But there are also contracts, and they need to be paid out, because that's what we agreed upon.
Right.
And so we're here on that. Then at that point, if we started there and then worked forward, maybe that's an option.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I guess it was really more of a procedural,
Yep.
because you're governed by Department of Education. And so we're here, trying to do what's best for the town, and we are looking at all the budgets.
Right.
But it seems that, you have a certain way of doing things, and because of the Department of Education. So I know where to address it in the rest of the town's process, but I wouldn't know where to address it in your process, because you've already certified your budget.
Right.
So there's really no opportunity, because quite frankly, you'll just come in and take the money like last year. I mean, because that's really what we're looking at overall. I guess, so that's what I was really just curious, like, if there is an opportunity for that, just based on other towns or what have you. And certainly I'm not asking for that at all. It's just a matter of procedure and where you would do that, like question.
I think every
budget.
every town and every school district goes through this
Mhm.
every year.
Yeah,
But I also think that the superintendent of schools and the town manager could go sit in a back room and talk about this earlier and every month.
yep,
And then you could get through it and say, I know where they're coming from.
right,
But when you have 283 staff compared to somebody else's 24 staff, or compared to somebody else's 23 staff, it's a different program.
Right.
My 2.5% looks different, or my 2.75% looks different than somebody else's 3%.
Mhm.
I don't know how to fix it.
Yeah.
I do know that conversation needs to happen, and I do need to know that we need to work together. And
Agreed.
I mean, you can say we came in and took it's 130,000.
Mhm.
It's 130,000. It's a lot of money. I'm not saying it's chump change.
Yep,
But when you have a district that's not even probably a mile and a half away from here that's looking for $1 million, and you're looking 2 miles away that's looking for another $180,000,
We're in deficit.
this is nothing, we're not out of the realm.
Right.
We're like every other town, every other school district. There's nobody that just makes it.
Right.
Maybe Duxbury can get through
and
it.
that's why I was asking about procedure, like
I've
what
talked to,
department-
I know John
what other
well.
people do.
Is it just like the earlier the conversations, the better?
I don't know, I think that we're budgeting. I think if we knew, I'm not the town manager, so I'm not gonna speak on the town side or for the
No.
selectmen. I will speak as a superintendent of schools. I think that we're following the ORC. I think we're following recommendations. I think we're using the soft rate system. I think that we're using our revolving accounts and doing everything that we can to support the success of students. I think that if we get the 200,000 and we know that it's 60,000 that we had or that has been historically allocated, and we get the 200,000 and we know that the school needed 133,000, then in October, I'd certainly come around and say, hey, you got that, that's in the budget now. Let's do that. And I would certainly do that.
Right, and like I said, it was more about procedure. I get you're fighting for the kids. I
Yeah.
have a kid in the school. I'm glad you're fighting for the kids.
Everyone
But
on the committee, actually.
we all have kids in the
Right.
school, but I guess it's just from, we're charged with something different. As an advisory board, we're charged with looking at the town as a whole. Yes, we're trying to make improvements and do different things. That's not really what my question, my question was just
Was the
more.
procedural.
Was just procedural, because
I'm willing to do whatever
Just-
the town wants to do.
Because like other, like in other departments, like we just go back and talk to them. You've certified your budget, so what you say is technically, that can't be changed now.
But I have a timeline to go by.
Yeah, that's, okay, that's exactly what I guess my
look, I
question
do
is.
mass general law.
Yep.
I follow the timeline. I have a school committee that I
Is
present
it
to.
put out by the Department of Education, your
It's mass
timeline?
general law.
Okay.
That says that we have to go at some point,
The school does,
the school,
okay,
before the town meeting. At
Yep.
some point, I've got to certify this budget.
Okay.
I think it's 90 days. on
yeah,
mass
I think
general
it's
law.
90, yeah.
Yes, Duxbury does go in November. And I've talked to John Anthony. He
Yep.
goes, he says, this is my budget. If it's 23 million, he's coming in. This is my budget. This is what I'm giving you.
Yep,
And his school committee is going to certify it, and they're going to bring it to the town, and hopefully they go through it. Just like, I give you exactly what we believe we need. The school committee, actually, we have a subcommittee for our budget. We go through that, we vet it out, we keep vetting it, and we vet it, and then we certified it. I mean, and I get what you're saying
Yeah.
procedurally, like, how do we do things? And how
Right.
do we do them differently?
well, we all agree that there's definitely certain things that need to be changed and looked at. And because, as everybody knows, if you don't change, you don't grow, you don't move forward. So I guess for me, I'm just, curious and trying to figure out, and I'm not saying that you didn't come with your best
Right.
budget. That's not what I'm saying. It was more just, okay, so here, is out there. So, it was, like I said, more just procedural
Right.
and,
I-
versus how we, personally, I would like to see all the departments come together, but I'd like to see all the departments be treated the same way. I get that you're the biggest department in the town, as well you should be, but I still would like to see people treated the same way, top to bottom. So,
Meaning
but
what?
we're not
Meaning
because,
treated what?
well, because you have to certify your budget. No
Right.
other department doesn't.
Procedure.
That's right.
Procedurally, because Department of Education says you have to
That's right.
certify your budget.
Okay.
So it's different than the other departments, that's all.
Right.
And so,
But with the other departments, just like me, the selectmen would have that procedural done probably for the departments. Or the town manager could say, this is what I'm bringing forward with my police department. This is what I'm bringing forward with the fire department. This is what I'm bringing forward with.
well, we
Department
basically
of
do
Public
that
Works.
with the budget as a whole.
Yeah, but
we're doing
if,
that.
if
You
you
mean
talk about.
beforehand.
Yeah, I'm saying procedurally, if we were to do something like that, and you're just saying on a procedural type.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you have a superintendent of the town, or a town manager, a superintendent, I bring the fire department in 1 week to the selectmen, I bring the police, I bring this, and we go through it and say, this is where we're coming from. And then the finance committee decides where you're at.
Yep.
And then the town accountant and the treasurer, they sit there and they say, well, this is what we budgeted, this is what our revenue is.
So what is the purpose, I guess, along with that, the purpose of, and I know, again, it's by the Department of Education, this is just more for my information. What's the purpose of certifying a budget from where, like
I
others?
think it's to hold people, I think probably after Prop 2.5, it was probably before that, Michelle,
Okay.
that they probably said, schools were getting too much of the pie years ago, and they were just doing their own thing, and they were spending money wherever they wanted, and the school committee didn't really have an oversight of the superintendent of schools. The superintendent was spending, so now they said, superintendent, you can't do this without your school committee, so now you bring it to the school committee, and if they okay something, now it just doesn't fall on myself or the business administrator.
Right.
Now, the
But
school
that should be a
committee-
town, I mean, it's a town responsibility and, but, okay.
But there's a lot, upstate New York, or New York State,
Yep,
town taxes, or county taxes go directly to the schools. They do not go to the county. School taxes go to the town. Town tax, DPW or water sewage goes to the town. Then whatever comes in from the state and other taxes, they split, they sit in a room and they split them up together. The school gets this, the town gets this.
so
Or
they're
the-
run
or the-
differently, just state.
Well, that's what I'm
state.
saying, a state to state, it's run differently. You know, the big five or the big seven in Massachusetts get a lot of federal funds because they have they got 100% free and reduced lunch. You're gonna see a lot of federal funds go to them.
Right.
In a lot of town, I mean, in a lot of state funds. I don't know the answer,
Yeah,
truthfully.
'cause, I mean, I see it through work on different allocations of what counties will get what.
Yeah. I mean, but I look at it this way, I don't know why we have to certify it, I just know that
You have to.
I think it's more of an oversight of the school committee, of somebody watching, what are we doing?
Okay. And the reason, excuse me, another reason I asked just procedurally is last year, we met before you certified the budget. This year, we're meeting after. So I'm trying to figure out which is better. Which, is it better to do it after you certify?
think
or to
we're
bring our
fol-
concerns,
Yep.
if there were any, before you
I think there was an
certified?
issue, I think there was, when I first came,
Oh,
it was a different thing, everybody was working, and we're trying to get things settled, and we were trying to renegotiate contracts and trying to get people on board. The second year, we were here, John just came out, we were trying to get everything working, and a time frame got skewed, and then, so we met before, and then it was after. This year, I know, I was told by the school committee and by the attorneys that oversee the school committee, we are following Mass General Law. We're going to follow the timeline that is given to us and how this needs to be certified, how this needs to be given, and then,
So I guess back to Michelle's question, though, for our perspective, from what we need to do, right? So, yeah, follow the law, absolutely, we want you to do that. But we can certainly meet before, during,
Oh, yeah.
after. So
Right.
I guess from a procedural perspective, what makes more sense for us to have the conversation?
we asked for a timeline from the town.
And we can follow a
Right.
timeline, but I guess the question just for us, for the benefit is does it
We were
make sense
just
for
given the
us?
date of March 19th. We didn't request the date of March 19th.
No, no, no.
Oh, no, we
No,
had,
we're just-
your
we're
liaisons
asking
reached
what-
out.
From a
Right.
procedural
And
perspective,
they
what
reached
makes
out to Liz
sense?
and John and.
I would meet with
Does
you.
it work or?
If you
whatever.
wanted to
But I
meet
think
once
that-
a month, starting in August or starting in September, I would certainly do that with you. And I would go through the budget process with you, and we would show you where we were at the beginning, where we started at 5%,
Right.
and we got it to, 3.5, and now we're at 2.
I mean, certainly we understand contractual. I mean, everybody gets that. That's where all your, that's where your,
Unfortunately,
Money
contractual is
is-
what's kind of helping drive
a lot of the,
across the board.
right, a lot across the town.
'Cause you
And
can't
we've
contract
reached out
up
and
here
we've
and
tried
you
to address
don't
it.
do that,
And that's, putting our concerns forward with each of the different departments, things like that. So we continue to evolve here as a committee to try to find what's best for the town overall.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Listen, I've said, we need a strategic plan for the entire town. We have one, but it's only for the school department.
Right.
But a strategic plan that involves us to sit with you on developing the plan and saying, this is where the schools are, what do you need? I've been saying that, and I've said it to the small group of the top 3 departments, or not top 3, the larger departments and the school department, whereas if you know that John Haynes know that he may have to build 3 roads next year and 1 road this year and whatever. The Chief Herron may need a ladder truck. And
And I think
so that's how.
they have it, maybe they're just in silos.
Right, but I think,
Yeah.
and that's what we have, but
Yeah.
if
We can't live in silos.
we can't live in
No,
silos and talk together.
I don't disagree, I'm just,
And say, so somebody needs, School department needs 25 million in 3 years. How do we get to 25 million in 3 years when all these, when we need a new sewer system, when we need a ladder truck, because we have buildings and houses that need to make sure that they're safe. And we see that it's not just the opioid problem that we have, it's domestic calls that have reached a high number, and he needs more, and the chief needs more people.
Yeah, 'cause he-
How do we get to those places? And how do we do it collaboratively in a network and say, okay, so if you need this and we need that, well, how do we get there? So if it means we gotta lay off for the year, we lay off. I said that 3 years ago, we went for kindergarten. That was a big chunk, and we paid up front for that. And the school department did a lot of that work, and we're still doing a lot of that work, and we're still seeing that. But I did say, and I said, I won't be asking for a lot for the next 3 or 4 years. And we've held to that. And that's what a strategic plan does, is we did something big. Now we've got to stay there. So that other departments, if we need a ladder truck and he needs something, I'm just using that because that's, I'm sure, a big expense. Okay, he gets a ladder truck, then he goes a little time. We're willing to do that, and I get it. I understand what you're saying. What's the procedure to use? I'll do whatever you ask, but we want to be part of the solution and not part of the problem.
Agreed, and that's
Right.
why I'm
Yeah.
asking all these
Oh, yeah.
questions, trying
And
to
I
figure
think it's
out
good.
what's the best way to go, and that's, we as a committee, we talk about that and try to figure out what is best, because again, for the town, I mean, we need to, I guess, take a look at it as a whole and see what we can do to evolve and improve.
Sure. And we're willing to work with you on that.
Great.
Awesome.
Maybe book it in your schedule now.
Whatever you want.
August seems
No, I'm
early.
just,
And
But whatever.
do you want the summer?
I'll be on vacation
If it-
then.
if it-
September's usually crazy, so probably like.
But I mean,
I know.
whatever
Yeah. I know what you're
Yeah,
saying.
no.
whatever you feel that needs to happen, we're part of it.
It would be
Right, well-
nice to be proactive instead
Right.
of reactionary all the time.
that's-
Sometimes
You
it feels like it's a reaction
I don't like this.
versus.
I mean, if
being proactive.
anybody thinks that anybody likes this, and I don't think the town likes it, and I don't think the school department likes it, that every year we're here. No one likes that.
Yeah,
And I certainly
Agreed.
will not be part of that, because I do not want my students to see that. We're trying to show kids how to resolve issues by discussion, by collaborative relationships, cooperating. You don't always get what you want, but you've got to learn that it's okay not to get it the first time, but if you keep trying and working and helping and supporting, it comes together. And that's what I
well,
want.
that's how you reach goals.
That's right. We want to model the behavior that we want to see for our kids, and I think the kids will be more successful as we become a more successful town and school department. How about one instead of two?
Mhm.
So. Willing to do it. John?
Great.
On vacation.
He's like,
John's already
mentally
on
on
checked
vacation.
out.
John's already checked out.
He's like,
I don't blame you,
Ellen?
John.
Patient.
Have anything?
I'm in it to win it, I don't know, I'm not checked out. No vacation
No
for me.
vacation.
That means no vacation for me. Thanks, everybody. Are we,
Great,
Thank you.
yeah, we're good.
thank you.
Thank you guys
Excellent.
very much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, a lot of information. Oh, God.
I keep, I'm like,
Wait a minute,
I
can I
know.
move?
Do we have other items?
For other items, it was really just a follow-up on timeline last week of where we are. I did bring my notes, and it was really,
Tuesday at
and
7
I
is our
have
next meeting,
handouts
right?
for you. What? I'm
The
sorry.
Tuesday at 7 was our next, right? Next, 26th?
Right?
No.
The 25th at 6:30.
Is it? Did
No,
I-
they can't do it.
Oh, no, I think this
I'm
was
sorry.
just for us.
Oh,
I think we had put, that's what I have in
Thanks,
my
guys.
last set.
thank you.
Have a
I
good
had some-
vacation.
Thank you.
I can't do 318. I'm gonna need this back.
Yeah, I have March 26th at 7. We were gonna just meet to kind of go over
Where we were
where we
at.
are with the budget.
I did email the town administrator. He was not able to do 318, which was yesterday anyway.
Right.
So that still needs to be rescheduled. So. So I have that on the docket, is just rescheduling. And everyone got the email about Southeastern, they're coming May 6th.
Yep.
And I've updated our budget presentation, I just didn't bring it,
Are you doing it?
the budget schedule.
Oh, okay.
I'll email that out to everyone, because I think, so now we'll just have the assessor, Board of Selectmen, and treasurer left to do.
Do you think that, we'll meet on April 2nd? I know that we didn't have
You
it
had said
scheduled.
that, no, I don't know,
You don't know yet?
I don't know.
Okay. I just wanted to
Yeah.
ask, is it
No,
okay
that's-
if
of
you're
course.
late? I mean,
Yeah.
because hopefully I'll be able to come
Absolutely.
with
Well-
something at 6, if we do kind of stick with
Yeah,
the Tuesday.
let's
with
figure
reviews.
it out next,
Okay.
on Tuesday.
Okay,
Are we,
no
are we scheduled for Monday or Tuesday?
No,
Did you
it-
have?
I had it for the 26th. I think that's Tuesday, right?
And it was just gonna be a regular
gonna be
meeting, right?
regular
It was just gonna
finance
be a regular
committee
meeting for us to catch up, find out
Yeah.
where we are with budgets, and then bring any questions you have on budgets, so we can start to go through each of them and where we
Right.
have questions, where we think. I was gonna look at the revenues, and I really haven't done that, looked at revenue and expenses yet to put that out. I just haven't had the time. Oh, and I have to go back through and reach out to town administrator on the library grid. That, I forgot about that, actually. So I need to, I thought I had it all too. Oh, okay.
So
So,
what time are we doing our regular 7 o'clock
yeah,
on the 26th?
yeah, just hopefully that works. And let's, keep it to an hour, no matter where we are. Let's
The
just
hard
keep it.
stuff.
Yeah, let's just keep it 7 to 8 and do with what we have there. Because it will just be about budgets and just a timeline between now and town meeting, June 10th, and go from there. So we need to reschedule, and then library grid.
One quick question.
Yes?
If we have any follow-up questions on this, I'll ask the liaisons. Would you
Yep.
like the questions to go through you?
I think
You wanna
that's
collect?
probably
I think that
easiest.
would be best, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably the easiest.
You should
if that's
CC,
okay with
I'd
it.
CC the committee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
CC
then-
the committee,
Just
but
so
we'll
we're not
let them,
repeating
Well,
questions,
yeah,
but then I'll let you guys
Yep.
kind of,
Yeah,
do
I have no
the
problem
questions.
with that at all.
Okay.
I don't mind.
perfect. Yep, that'll work.
because I already just thought it too.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And
Yep.
Well, they're fresh in my mind.
And
depending on what
then-
they are too, and maybe it's something that we already kind of
Yeah.
have information on, so yeah, just.
Perfect, okay.
Let's see. Oh, let's talk about your app. That was the other thing.
Oh, yeah.
Your Team Up app.
Did everyone get to try
So
it?
I tried it, but I can't find the link to copy into the app.
So it's,
Instead of just going through,
I can probably read it to you right now if I can get to that email.
yeah, see, I couldn't, for some reason, when I was doing it, I couldn't,
Get back.
like the app, I have the app, I downloaded
Yeah.
it, but
Oh,
I don't know if
I just cut and paste whatever,
Yeah.
was
Yeah, I
in
think
the-
that's where I'm stuck at, because I had downloaded it
Hold
too.
on, let me see.
And right when you
And
open
I
it,
could-
it asks you for a
Yeah.
code.
Yep.
And it's in
Right.
the email. It's
and I
in- it's
didn't
in
have the
email.
code.
Okay.
You mean the HTTP
Yep,
code?
yes,
Yep.
it's the
Yep.
one at the
Yeah.
end of that.
And I-
Went right in the
Just
middle of
highlight
the
it.
email.
Yeah, I deleted it.
Okay.
Hold
Can
on.
you
Because I thought,
resend
you know
it?
why? Because I thought I
trying
was
to
all
find it.
set.
Right
Yeah.
I thought I was all
now.
set with it because I was able to go out there and put a meeting out there
Yep.
as a
that's right.
test.
Yep.
So it seemed fine. That's why I was like, oh, I'll go in and update. But I was like, I can't update because.
Yeah, I'm in it
I don't have
fine,
it.
and I was able to test it.
All right, so Melanie's gonna send that back out again
I can
at some point.
actually,
Or can you invite me?
I'm gonna just like text you guys the code.
Yeah,
I
if you
just
could-
copied that piece of it, so if I send it to
Okay.
Michelle and you guys are Laura and Crystal, you guys
I'm all
are all
set.
set? Okay, so Michelle and Jen.
Yeah, I like the app.
It's not, it's definitely not like sophisticated or anything.
No, but I
if
think it's
just one
just what we
place that
need.
could
We don't
put all the
need,
dates.
for now anyway, just to put our meetings out there, just so they're in a
Right.
central location. I think that's good. Awesome. Thank you. And, let's see. Does anyone have anything else? No, is anyone? No, okay, great.
It's
So-
warmer in this room than upstairs.
I know it's
Yeah, it is. I don't know, but I thought it was like 1,000
too warm.
degrees.
I'm hot right
Anyway,
now.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
All those, discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Meeting adjourned.
So Melanie, I think I'm really,